The man had a gun. It wasn't shaking. It wasn't hidden. It was aimed directly at my wife's chest. He stood in front of the projector screen, jaw tight, vest puffed, a plastic badge gleaming under the flickering fluorescent lights of the Cypress Hollow Community Clubhouse. Around him, folding chairs scraped against linoleum, someone gasped, and an elderly woman clutched her purse like it might save her. But Maya? She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. She took one small, deliberate step forward, arms at her sides, calm as still water. Then she raised a single eyebrow and said, in a voice like ice sliding off a mountain, "You sure you want to do that, officer?" The man, Barry Trent, self-proclaimed Deputy Chief of Community Enforcement, hesitated. His hand twitched on the grip of what I would later find out was a high-end airsoft pistol with the orange tip painted black. But in that moment, it didn't matter. It looked real. It felt real. And he had just pointed it at the wrong woman. Because the person standing in front of him wasn't just Maya Pierce, the quiet lady who watered her roses and waved at dog walkers. That was Sheriff Maya Pierce, the elected law enforcement authority for the entire county. And Barry? He was about 2 seconds away from discovering just how real his fake authority was about to get. He didn't know it yet, but this wasn't just another HOA dispute gone off the rails. This was the end of a carefully laid trap. I watched from the edge of the room, phone still recording in my hand, as Maya slowly reached inside her coat and pulled out her Rio badge, silver, heavy, unmistakable. She held it up just as 3 squad cars screeched to a stop outside the clubhouse. The look on Barry's face when he saw those red and blue lights through the window? That was the moment everything changed. And it all started 5 weeks ago. With a bright orange notice duct taped to our mailbox that said, Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board, Notice of Violation, Mailbox Paint Not in Compliance. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Maya and I had just moved into our new place in Cypress Hollow, a quiet cul-de-sac tucked into the hills west of town, where the lawns were always green and the neighbors waved just a little too politely. We hadn't even unpacked all the boxes yet. Half our kitchenware was still in bubble wrap, and the guest room looked like a shipping depot. I'd mowed the lawn once. That was it. Day 5 in our suburban paradise. I walked out one morning, coffee in hand, to grab the mail, and there it was. A bright orange paper, taped diagonally across our black steel mailbox like some kind of warning flare. Notice of violation, mailbox paint not in compliance. Please correct within 72 hours to avoid further action. Issued by Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board. I stood there for a moment, blinking at the thing. The wording was stiff, almost robotic. There was no contact number, no name. Just a seal that looked like someone's cousin had made it in Microsoft Word, an eagle, some stars, and a wreath, classic HOA cosplay. Inside, Maya was unpacking the spice rack when I walked in holding the notice like it might explode. They don't like our mailbox, I said flatly. She turned, glanced at the paper, and gave me that dry half-smile that always came before she took something way too seriously. Mailbox paint, she said. Critical issue. I chuckled. We just moved in. How would they even? She was already pulling out her laptop. Maya didn't say much when she was suspicious. She just moved. Efficient. Quiet. Calculated. I watched her fingers fly across the keys as she opened the deed file, scanned through the disclosures, then pulled up a public zoning map. It took her maybe 30 seconds before she leaned back in her chair and gave a low whistle. There's no HOA, she said. What? She spun the screen toward me. There it was, in bold. This property is not subject to any active homeowners association. Cypress Hollow had once had an HOA, 10 years ago, but it was formally dissolved and deregistered after some kind of mismanagement scandal. The clubhouse was still there, but the legal structure? Gone. So who the hell is the Community Safety Board? I asked. Maya just raised an eyebrow and saved the deed PDF under a new name. Evidence_no_HOA.pdf. I'll be honest, I wasn't too worried at that point. To me, It felt like some overzealous neighbor with a clipboard and a power complex. Harmless, annoying maybe, but not dangerous. Maya, though? She didn't like loose ends. Especially ones wrapped in fake eagles and vague threats. By the time we went to bed that night, she'd already started a new file folder on her desktop labeled Cypress Watch. "I've seen this kind of thing before," she muttered as she closed her laptop. "Someone testing boundaries. Seeing who's paying attention." I kissed her on the temple and laughed it off. In hindsight, that was the last night I felt truly relaxed. Because 2 days later, we got another notice, this time on the windshield of Maya's SUV. "Driveway violation, obstruction of flow. Fine, $125. Repeat offenses may result in escalation." The SUV was parked in our own driveway. On private property. Not blocking anything. And suddenly, I wasn't laughing anymore. Maya stared at the slip for a long moment. Then she opened her notepad, wrote 2 words. "They're bluffing." But even as she said it, her eyes had already gone cold. The sheriff was waking up. After the second notice, things changed. Maya got quiet. Not the "I'm angry" kind of quiet, but the tactical kind, the quiet that came before she started tracking patterns, identifying pressure points. I'd seen it before, during one of her corruption investigations back when she was still a lieutenant. That quiet always meant something was about to go down. By the end of the week, we had 4 motion-activated cameras installed around the house. 1 above the garage. 1 tucked under the eaves facing the driveway. 1 embedded in the mailbox post itself. And 1 cleverly hidden inside a hollowed-out porch lantern, Maya's personal touch. "Smile for the camera," she murmured, adjusting the viewing angles from her tablet like she was prepping for a sting operation. We didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, just after noon, I spotted a man standing across the street, snapping pictures of our property with a zoom lens. He wasn't subtle about it, crouching behind a neighbor's bush like he was on safari. Then he straightened up and walked toward our house. He was dressed in cargo pants, a navy blue polo with Cypress Hollow enforcement embroidered across the chest, and wore a plastic-looking badge on a lanyard. A radio was clipped to his belt, but the antenna was missing. "Afternoon," he said, walking up our path with forced confidence. "I'm Officer Trent with the Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board." I stepped out onto the porch, kept my voice friendly. "Didn't know Cypress Hollow had a safety board." He nodded like I'd asked about the weather. "We handle compliance. You've had a few violations already. And you're here for what, exactly?" He glanced over my shoulder, eyes scanning toward the garage. "We'll need to conduct an inspection of the premises. There may be unauthorized storage or materials not listed on your move-in documentation." That's when Maya stepped outside, silent as a shadow, standing just behind me. "You got a warrant, Officer Trent?" she asked, her tone casual but cutting. His jaw shifted. "We operate under board authority." Maya folded her arms. "Is that a yes or a no?" He hesitated, then pulled a laminated ID from his back pocket and held it up. For a second, I'll admit, it looked official. Until Maya took a step closer. "Badge says it's valid through 2022, she noted. "It's 2025. He stiffened. "Our credentials are being reissued." "And that radio?" she pointed. "Looks like a bow phone. Unregistered. No FCC stamp." His eyes flicked to the device. Then he muttered, "Non-compliance will be noted," scribbled something on a pad, and turned to leave. I wanted to yell. Maya just smiled, cold and small. "See you soon, Barry," she called after him. The moment he was gone, we went inside and backed up every camera angle. The footage was perfect, clear image of the badge, the expired date, the fake radio, the clipboard. Everything. Maya opened a new file on her laptop. Subject: Barry Trent. Alias: Officer, Surveillance Day 1. That was the beginning of what she called the board watch log. She printed each notice we received, stapled them onto a corkboard in the basement, and labeled them by time, date, and what camera caught the drop-off. She even added photos of his vehicle, a beige Ford Explorer with the back window duct-taped shut and a bumper sticker that read, "Order through obedience." A week later, Barry came back. This time, he measured the distance between our hedges and the sidewalk, took photos of our garbage bins, and peered through the side gate like he was casing the place. We didn't confront him. We just recorded. Every second. Meanwhile, Maya dug deeper. She pulled public records on Cypress Hollow, combed through county filings, zoning ordinances, and even contacted the municipal clerk. She confirmed it. The Community Safety Board didn't exist. Not as a nonprofit. Not as an HOA. Not as a registered neighborhood watch. Just a name on a flyer. A myth dressed in khaki and cheap laminate. But the illusion was working. Whispers started from neighbors. Ellen, 2 houses down, whispered that her wind chimes were flagged for auditory disruption. Jim, across the street, had gotten a warning for non-regulation porch lighting. Everyone had a story, and everyone was afraid to talk. They patrol at night sometimes. Jim whispered to me once at the mailbox. Flashlights. Clipboards. I don't want trouble. Maya watched it all unfold, arms crossed, her mouth a thin line. They're building a fake regime, she muttered. And nobody's pushing back. She turned to me, eyes sharp. Then I guess we're going to be the first. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. The sky was that perfect kind of blue that made you forget anything bad could exist in the world. I was trimming the front hedge, mostly for peace of mind, while Maya sat on the porch, pretending to read, but her eyes never really left the street. Then we heard it. Crunch. Gravel under tires. A dull gray SUV rolled slowly into our driveway, backwards. The brake lights flared, and 2 bright orange traffic cones were tossed out onto the concrete like they were claiming territory. The passenger door swung open. A man with a megaphone stepped out, followed by 2 more in matching navy polos and surplus tactical pants. They moved with that strange mix of awkward authority, like they'd practiced this in a backyard a few too many times. The one with the megaphone raised it to his mouth. Attention! This property is under active inspection by the Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board. Please remain inside your home until the compliance assessment is complete. The megaphone squealed with static. I froze, clippers still in hand. Maya didn't even blink. She stood up, slowly, and stepped inside the doorway, half-shadowed, arms crossed. Watching. Meanwhile, the lead guy started walking toward me, clipboard in one hand, fake badge on full display. He had a little too much confidence, a smugness that only comes from not being challenged for far too long. I'm Randall Knox, he announced, puffing his chest. Chief Compliance Officer. Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the hedges. Why? I asked, calm as I could manage. Violation of Code 5.1a, he said, flipping a page. Improper landscaping during restricted hours. It's a Sunday, I said. And there's no HOA here. He squinted. That's incorrect. The Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board has jurisdiction over residential conformity, as per legacy agreement clauses and resident conduct expectations. Maya whispered behind me, just loud enough for me to hear. That's not a real sentence. I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit record. I'm sorry, I said, but unless you have something signed by a judge or a badge issued by someone whose name doesn't end in .jpg, you're trespassing. Randall's jaw tensed. His backup stepped forward, Barry, of course, hands on hips, like he was about to reenact a scene from some low-budget procedural. Sir, I'm going to need you to go back inside, Barry said. This is an active compliance zone. I looked at the 2 orange cones. Is that what makes it official? The cones? No jokes, Randall snapped. You've already received multiple notices. You are now subject to a Tier 2 enforcement review. And what does that mean? I asked. Barry reached into his vest and pulled out a laminated pamphlet. He handed it to me like it was the gospel. It read, Tier 2 Enforcement Protocol, Failure to comply may result in fines, access revocation, or escalated measures. There were no legal citations, no author, no date, just a lot of bold font and threats. Then Maya stepped forward. Not far. Just enough for Randall to see her. She nodded toward his badge. Where'd you get that? Randall raised an eyebrow. Official issue. Maya tilted her head slightly, then smiled, but it wasn't friendly. That star you're wearing, it's modeled after the county sheriff's badge. Same outline. Same eagle crest. Only yours has 6 points. Ours has 7. His face flickered. And your seal? She continued, cool as stone. The motto under it, Unity through Enforcement, that's not from any county office. It's from a disbanded California militia group. You might want to check your supplier. Randall blinked. Barry muttered something and started backing toward the SUV. Maya stepped fully onto the porch, voice clear now. You are impersonating law enforcement. You're conducting unauthorized inspections on private property. And you've distributed fraudulent citations using symbols that mimic real government agencies. She paused, let that sink in. Which, in case you weren't aware, is a felony. Randall didn't reply. He just turned, yanked the cones off our driveway, and barked. We'll be back. This isn't over. No, Maya said, pulling her phone from her pocket. It's just beginning. The moment they drove off, Maya turned to me and said 2 words. We're ready. Then she tapped the porch lantern, and the red LED inside blinked. Footage secured. Audio clear. Faces captured. Game on. The flyer was taped to our mailbox the next morning. Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board. Monthly engagement session, Clubhouse A. 7 p.m., residents encouraged to attend. No names. No signatures. Just a smug little note in all caps that said, non-attendance may result in non-compliance classification. Maya looked at it for 3 seconds before saying, perfect. She pulled a zip folder from her desktop, labeled CHSB_compiled, and dropped it onto a thumb drive. Videos. Photos. Screenshots of their fake badges, copies of citations, footage of Barry reaching over our fence with a measuring stick, Randall lecturing me about cone protocol. Everything. At 6:48 p.m., we parked 2 houses down from the clubhouse. Maya wore jeans and a loose navy jacket over a plain black tee. Nothing flashy. Nothing to give her away. But under that jacket, clipped inside, was her Rio badge. And on her belt, her radio, turned on and set to her department's channel. Silent. Waiting. The Cypress Hollow clubhouse looked like it hadn't been painted since 2010. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Folding chairs were arranged in uneven rows, a projector screen stood at the front, and a collapsible table bore stacks of glossy pamphlets with the CHSB logo, now in full color. Barry stood by the door, arms folded, chin high like he was guarding a nuclear summit. Randall Knox was already at the front of the room, pointer in hand, standing beside a projected slide titled Q3 Initiatives, Advanced Compliance and Behavioral Alignment. There were maybe 20 people in the room, mostly older, mostly anxious. Some clutched envelopes or phone bills. Some whispered quietly. Randall cleared his throat. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Tonight we'll be reviewing expanded compliance policies, including updated vehicle guidelines, decorative lighting parameters, and noise discipline zones. Maya leaned over to me and whispered. He's reading from a script he wrote in PowerPoint. I tried not to laugh. Then Randall clicked to the next slide. Phase 2 Implementation, Community Oversight Patrols. He smiled. We'll be assigning designated block marshals to maintain order and enforce standards. This includes immediate citation authority and, if necessary, property access. A hand shot up from the back. Wait, access to what? Our homes? No one's breaking in, Randall said smoothly. But if violations are visible or reported, we reserve the right to inspect. That's when Maya stood up. Calm. Collected. Who gave you that authority? She asked. Randall blinked. Excuse me? Your patrols. Your citations. Your threats of fines and access. Who gave you the authority to do any of it? Randall's smile tightened. We are a volunteer board duly formed. Not registered. Not chartered. No articles of incorporation. No tax ID. No oversight, Maya said. I've looked. You're not even a legal nonprofit. A hush fell over the room. Randall tried to laugh. Ma'am, we're doing what the old HOA never had the guts to. You are impersonating a dissolved entity, she cut in, and using fake government symbols to intimidate residents. That's not community service. That's a criminal operation. Barry stepped forward. I'm gonna need you to sit down. Maya didn't move. Randall's voice rose. This is a closed session. You're disrupting an official board. Barry's hand went to his belt. A beat. Then he drew. Not a real firearm. We'd learn later it was an airsoft pistol, painted black. But in the moment, nobody cared. Gasps. Chairs scraped. Someone shouted. A woman ducked under the table. Barry pointed the weapon directly at Maya. Back up, he barked. Meeting's over. And that's when Maya took one single step forward. Her voice didn't rise. Her hands stayed at her sides. She just looked at him, steady, calm, and said, I'm Sheriff Maya Pierce. Drop the weapon. Barry's eyes widened. His mouth opened. The pistol suddenly looked like a child's toy in his shaking hands. Would you have stayed calm like Maya did, or panicked like Barry? Comment yes if you'd stay calm, or no if you'd freak out. Maya continued, slow and cold. You are impersonating a peace officer. You are armed during the commission of that crime. And you are standing in front of at least 24 witnesses. She unclipped her coat just enough to flash her badge. Silver. Official. Real. Then she reached up and pressed the button on her radio. Dispatch, this is Sheriff Pierce. I'm at Cypress Hollow Community Center. Suspect impersonating law enforcement, possibly armed. Request immediate backup. Advise all units, this may be part of an organized impersonation ring. The radio crackled. Copy, Sheriff. Units en route. ETA 5 minutes. Confirm suspect in custody? Maya's eyes never left Barry. Not yet, she replied. But I'm working on it. Barry's face drained of color. The pistol clattered to the floor. Randall staggered back. One of the officers, near the projector screen, made a break for the side door. But it was too late. The room was recording. Phones were out. And Maya? She just pointed to a folding chair and said, Sit down. And Barry did. 5 minutes felt like forever. But at exactly minute 6, the flashing lights hit the windows. 3 sheriff's cruisers. 2 unmarked SUVs. Uniforms, vests, real badges, real authority. Deputy Clark was the first through the door, weapon holstered, voice loud and clear. Hands where we can see them. Nobody move. Barry didn't. He was still seated, arms slack, eyes empty. The weight of what just happened hung over him like a storm cloud. His weapon was kicked aside and bagged immediately. Randall tried to speak. This is a misunderstanding, we're a community. Quiet, Maya said. Clark turned to her. Sheriff, you want to take lead? Maya nodded. 2 suspects, Barry Trent and Randall Knox. Charges pending, impersonating law enforcement, criminal trespass, unlawful threat of force, and potentially fraud. The room was dead silent, save for the rustle of gloves and Velcro as deputies moved through. One of them opened the back closet. Inside, 3 crates of traffic cones, boxes of orange citations, a bin labeled Tier 3 response, do not distribute without permission. But the real prize came when Deputy Raines stepped in holding a sleek black laptop bag. Sheriff, you'll want to see this. Inside was a company-grade Chromebook, already open. Raines flipped it around and revealed a dashboard titled CHSB Internal Admin Panel. Active violations, 114. Collected fines, $18,420. Payment method, PayPal, username redacted. Maya narrowed her eyes. Trace the account? 2 minutes later, a deputy came back holding a printed driver's license. PayPal account is registered to Evan Brandt. 25 years old. Lives in Hamilton Ridge. Randall groaned. He's my nephew. He just helped set up the site. Your nephew is running a fake payment system used to collect illegal fines from residents across multiple neighborhoods, Maya said sharply. That makes him part of an organized fraud ring. Randall tried to protest again, but it was over. Each citation, each fake policy document, each staged compliance inspection, it was all cataloged, tagged, and photographed. The community code book they'd handed out? Maya flipped to the back cover. No publisher. No version history. Just a QR code that linked to, of course, a PayPal portal. While deputies questioned Barry in the hallway, another officer emerged from behind the clubhouse, holding a clipboard and several laminated posters. Sheriff, you need to see this. The posters were printed in glossy color. They read, Coming soon, the Hollow Watch expands. Featuring logos of 2 other neighborhoods, Hamilton Ridge and Maple Crest Estates. Maya exhaled slowly. They were planning to scale it. Take this scam to multiple communities. What shocked you most? The fake cops. The PayPal scam. Maya's epic reveal. Comment the number below. She turned toward the group of remaining residents, who were now wide-eyed and stunned. This wasn't just power-hungry neighbors playing dress-up, she said. It was an organized effort to create the illusion of authority, to scare you into compliance, to extort you under the pretense of safety. Barry and Randall were led out in handcuffs. Someone clapped. Just one person. Then another joined. Then a third. Until the entire room broke into applause, not the celebratory kind, but the kind of applause that sounds like relief. Maya didn't smile. She just pulled her badge from her jacket and held it up. This, she said, voice clear and firm, is what real accountability looks like. Then she turned to Clark and said quietly, Let's shut them down, for good. 2 weeks later, the real town hall meeting was standing room only. No cones. No clipboards. No megaphones or laminated threats. Just neighbors, real people, filling the chairs, lining the walls, some even standing outside with hands cupped to the windows. Some brought manila folders full of fake citations. Others just came to listen. To breathe. Maya walked in through the front entrance. This time, she wore the uniform. Not because she needed the authority, she already had that. But because she wanted them to know, this time, the badge was real. She stood at the podium, flanked by a display board titled, The Grift, How They Did It, complete with photos, documents, and one of the plastic, CHSB, badges pinned beside a roll of orange duct tape. My name is Sheriff Maya Pierce, she began, and I live here. I moved to Cypress Hollow because I wanted peace, like many of you. But what we got instead was fear. Manufactured fear. Delivered by a group of individuals pretending to protect us, when really they were preying on us. She explained it all. The fake board. The illegal citations. The counterfeit badges. The plan to expand to more neighborhoods. There were gasps. Nods. A few tears. Then she made it official. The Cypress Hollow Community Safety Board is hereby dissolved, permanently. All funds collected through fraudulent means are being returned. And anyone involved in the investigation will receive full legal protection. Applause thundered through the room, real this time. That night, as we packed up the last of the evidence boards, a kid ran up to Maya and said, My dad says you're the sheriff of Cypress Hollow now. She crouched down and smiled. I like the sound of that. The next morning, Maya framed one of the original fake citations, the one that started it all. Violation, mailbox paint not in compliance. She hung it on the wall behind her desk, above a brass plaque that read, in her handwriting. Nice try. And just like that, Cypress Hollow was quiet again. This time, for the right reasons. Love seeing scammers get what they deserve. Tap that subscribe button so you don't miss the next takedown. In the end, this wasn't just a story about phony citations or a fake HOA. It was about something deeper, the quiet erosion of trust, and how fear can take root when no one stands up to question it. The people of Cypress Hollow weren't weak. They were polite, respectful, and willing to follow rules they thought were real. But that very decency was turned against them, weaponized by people who wore the mask of authority without any of its responsibility. The lesson? Real authority is earned, not printed on plastic or barked through a megaphone. And silence, even in quiet neighborhoods, can be dangerous when it's mistaken for peace. Maya didn't fight back with fists or fury. She used truth, evidence, and the badge she'd earned through years of service. And in doing so, she reminded everyone watching that integrity still matters, and that no scam, no matter how polished, can stand when someone brave enough says, "No more." So if something feels wrong in your community, trust your instincts. Ask questions. Speak up. Because sometimes, doing the right thing starts with simply refusing to be fooled.